everyone, and welcome to Bookish Babbles, the podcast where we reread our favorite books and chat about them. I'm your host, Alyson, and without further ado, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bookish Babbles, and we're finally talking about a new book. Woohoo!
Yes!
This is what we started this podcast for, and where I just occasionally do chaotic book quizzes, but it's fine. So today normally for episodes like this, I do them alone, but today Sarah is here. Rather, she insisted because she said she would hack into my computer otherwise.
I did. I'm a little bitch.
So yeah, today we're rereading our next favorite book, and we're talking about Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, although we're talking about the first 10 chapters because the two of us are adults with busy schedules, so we don't have time to do the close analysis that like I did for Hunger Games, but we'll still have a lot to say, trust me.
Oh, God help you guys.
Yeah, we already have a lot to say. So, hold on. Why did I close the notes app on my phone?
I told you to open it.
I'm sorry. Okay. It's not even Notes app, it's Google Drive app. Okay. So just a little bit of information. So Fangirl was obviously, we all know, it's a young adult contemporary book that was written by Rainbow Rowell, who beforehand had written Attachments, which was her debut novel, and Eleanor and Park, which was her YA debut. And she wrote Fangirl actually during NaNoWriMo, which for those who don't know, is National Novel Writing Month. And she had written it and she had said in interviews before that she had written this book at a time where, her previous two books hadn't done super well. And she was just debating whether or not she should just give up being an author. And what do you know, this book ended up being a pretty good success to the point where it got a spin-off series, Carry On, which is, based off the fan fiction Kath writes in this book. So, woohoo! And let's see. And Fangirl, as a result, was published on September 10th in 2013 by St. Martin's Press. So 2013, what a different time. 10 years ago, shit!
Oh my God. Hey,
shit!
Friend. Hey, friend.
What?
Can I read the readers a thing from my copy?
Yes!
Because I have a special intro about the whole NaNoWriMo thing.
Yes, read it.
Do we want the whole intro? It's like 3 pages. I can read you a snip.
Yeah, just sum it up the best you can.
My career seemed stalled at the time. My first book hadn't made any waves, and I'd had a hard time selling my second. And it was getting more difficult to justify writing fiction, to justify all the time away from my full-time job and my kids. Toddlers! I remember thinking, this might be it. This might be my last book. And if it is my last book, then I may as well write exactly what I want to write. I wrote Fangirl during November as part of National Novel Writing Month. I liked the idea of a built-in limitation. I could take 1 month to write this weird thing I was considering, this thing I couldn't quite explain to my literary agent. For 1 month, I could lie low at work and abandon my children. And if, at the end of that month, I looked down and thought, what is this mess? I could just throw it away. 1 month isn't much to spend or waste on a book. I'd stumbled along for 5 years writing my first one.
Damn.
My girl. The toddlers will be fine for 30 days.
Yeah, the toddler, they won't remember.
They won't.
Yeah. But yeah, and I believe The Night Circus was also a NaNoWriMo book, so yay NaNoWriMo.
I still need to read that.
Yes, you do. All right. Also, more facts. The cover art for Fangirl was done by N.D. Stevenson, who co-wrote the comic series Lumberjanes, wrote Nimona, which I think just got adapted for the screen.
Yes, it just got adapted by Netflix.
Woo! And also was the showrunner, creator, and executive producer for She-Ra and the Princess of Power. So they got a great cover designer for Fangirl.
Yes, truly.
Mm-hmm. All right. And I know before we kind of dive into analysis and everything, Sarah, why don't we talk about our like personal history with this book, like the first time we read it, anything you feel like sharing?
Do you know about how I ended up finding Fangirl,
I don't think
Alyson?
you ever told me, which is why I want to talk about this.
So I just recently fully pieced together this story. It required some research.
Oh, dear.
My 16th birthday, one of my childhood friends got saw it in a bookstore and went, "Well, Sarah fangirls about enough shit because I'm known for being the fangirl type. I hyperfixate on things." So she bought it as a gag. Like, she had no idea what the book was about. She literally bought it off the title. Did not expect me to like it, but just wanted to be a smartass.
Oh my god.
And I immediately fell in love with this book. I was telling someone today, I think this is my fifth read.
Oh dang.
I've only had it in my life since I was 16.
Well, it's been about 8 years now, so
Yeah, but still, 4 or 5 reads in 8 years, especially me when I
yeah,
don't read books.
you don't reread a ton, so dang.
This competes with Ari and Dante for my most reread book.
Oh dear. Yep. You, needless to say, you love this book.
We know who I love. We
Mm-hmm.
know why.
Oh yeah. I think yeah, this was definitely one of the first books that BookTube got me to read because this was like peak 2013, 2014 BookTube era and it was like I was like main character who writes fan fiction and I avidly was reading fan fiction at the time. Sign me up.
Exactly.
Yep. And I think I was reading it when I was my junior I can't remember it might not have been the first time, it might have been a reread, but I was reading either way, I was reading it while in a radio play production of It's a Wonderful Life, meaning like we were all pretending we were radio stars going on stage to put on a radio production of It's a Wonderful Life where we all just talked into the microphone. I didn't have a very big part in the show, so my job was to just kind of sit there on stage for most of it. And because the whole idea is that we were in a recording studio, when you weren't doing anything, you were allowed to do something on stage. It just had to be accurate to the time period. So you could, knit, you could do crochet. I just couldn't like have a modern looking book. So I just took my copy of Fangirl, took the dust jacket off, and just, from a distance, it looked like just a book. So I was reading Fangirl while on stage for a show.
I love this.
Yeah. And needless to say, I obviously fell in love with it because I'm like, this character is me. And she wears glasses because I hadn't got my contacts yet, so I was still wearing glasses full time. And I still had a thing where I didn't feel very like pretty in glasses or whatever. But thanks to Levi, I'm like, oh wait, yeah, people in glasses are pretty because they are.
It's not that you're not the gorgeous one. It's that you're the Clark Kent.
Yes.
Warn me before you take your glasses off.
I love that line so much.
I just read it because, fun fact, Alyson, I love you for dealing with me. I didn't start reading for this recording until this morning.
Oh my god, that's
I
awesome.
read all 10 chapters backward
Backwards, okay.
because I couldn't get through it if I did it straight shot.
All right.
So I started with 10 and went back.
Okay. That's we're all about different perspectives here.
Which means that later today I'm going to have to start it from page 1.
Oh my god. So, because I just kind of have my notes roughly outlining the things I want to talk about in each chapter, I'll just be doing a lot of talking at the beginning, is what you're saying.
No, I just reread the first few chapters.
Okay.
Right. You texted me, "Are you ready?" And I said I had told you I was. I had just finished reading chapter 1.
Oh my god. Okay, hold on. I should probably take out my copy of the book just in case I need it for reference. Yeah, I have the collector's edition that they published a few years back, and I love this one because it has fan art on the inside things.
Okay, what's funny is I also have a collector's edition with fan art, but it's not the same fan art.
It's not?
It's not.
What?
It's not, because I have the paperback with
Uh-huh.
the sprayed edges. And are you ready, Alyson? You might just screech.
Okay.
Look at Captain Levi, and she's writing the fan fiction, and it's coming to life in front of them.
Oh my god, that's so precious. I love it.
And his head is in her hair. We love this man, Your Honor.
Yep. Yeah.
I just scared my cat away with my screaming about Levi. He ran away.
Yeah. Also, mine the hardback has like a little picture of a Starbucks mug with Cat's name on it,
Ah,
and it comes with a bookmark attached to it.
noise.
So I love this edition, which is good that I have this because my original copy I still have the dust jacket for, but I loaned it out to Sam our freshman year of college because I loved the book and I wanted Sam to read it because we were going into our freshman year and I never got it back. I still have the dust jacket.
Sam, why?
Sam, everyone still go listen to her music because she's a fantastic songwriter. But Sam,
Sam, you're better at this.
don't loan her your books, everyone. Anyway, so stop closing stuff on your phone, Alyson. I've forgotten how to run a podcast. Alright, that's pretty much everything I need to cover. Let's just talk about the first chapter because we're immediately introduced to Levi. Well, actually, no. First, we get like in a newspaper article that gives a whole exposition on Simon Snow. So, and I don't know why, but I really love it when books include like newspaper articles because they're a great like snapshot into the world. If that makes sense. And also PSA because we're talking about Simon Snow, Rainbow Rowell clearly this is clearly meant to be like this world's version of like Harry Potter, and just a reminder, J.K. Rowling is still a menace to society, but it's gonna be it's almost unavoidable for us to mention Harry Potter when talking about Simon Snow. So just putting that out there.
Can I acknowledge a thing about the article you mentioned?
What?
Let's not forget that it's from Encyclowikia because we can't mention Wikipedia.
Oh yeah, which is funny because when I was was mentioning N.D. Stevenson and mentioning the stuff they worked on in the past, that's from their Wikipedia page.
Noise.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so just remember that, everyone. J.K. Rowling's still a menace to society, and you should do your best not to put money in her direction.
Yeah, guys, we don't need to fund more yachts for her.
Anyway, so but then it's fine because we immediately meet Levi in chapter 1 and everything's great.
Chapter 1, there was a boy in her room.
I know.
And guys, her roommate's name is Reagan, which is a gender neutral name. So she walks into a co-ed dorm into her room and she's like, is the room co-ed? Is this guy Reagan? What?
Like, I would be panicking too. Then again, it is Nebraska. Maybe she shouldn't have panicked that much about it.
Yeah, it's Nebraska. Honey, you're fine.
Yeah, if it was Boston, then maybe, but it was Nebraska. You're fine, honey.
Also, it's 2011, guys.
Oh yeah, that's right. This book was published in 2013, but the fall semester is 2011. So yeah, no, definitely she would have been safe from a co-ed room in Nebraska in 2011. And like just and I just love how like open and friendly Levi is right away, because again, at the time when this came out, because I was reading this in like 2013, 2014, YA was just flooded with like with Edward Cullen types, very moody, standoffish, bad boy type. So to have a golden retriever energy boy who is now all the rage in fiction, this was Levi did it before it was cool, guys.
Yes, yes, he did. I mean, his first line is, "You must be Cather," the boy
I
said, grinning and holding out his hand.
know. Hmm.
Then he just takes the box out of her hand and he's like, "Do you have more boxes? I can help you bring up your boxes, but me and Reagan are about to go out for dinner. Have you ever been to this place? They have really good burgers. They're bigger than your fist." And my favorite is he stops and goes, "Make a fist."
I know.
So she does. He goes, "Bigger than your fist." Like, I could hear this golden retriever boy.
I know. Boys, be more like Levi.
He is tall and tan with a very long neck.
Yep, he. Yep, and then of course, and then we meet Reagan, who makes a brief appearance, and then they like disappear. She doesn't even unpack, which is so true, which is about right, because I don't because like I remember my like move-in day for freshman year, like with when you're a freshman, everyone's your parents are hovering around you. Like my mom was even trying to organize things for me, and I was like, Mom, my space.
Which reminds me of the line from Reagan, "I took this side of the room, but if that bothers you, it doesn't matter. If it messes with the feng shui, just throw my shit."
Yeah. And then and then like by junior year, like no, it's like, oh, you're going back to the dorms. No big deal. I drove myself. I unpacked everything myself by junior
I
year.
helped you move either out or in at least once.
You definitely helped you move out. I don't remember you helping me move in much, but because then by that time I kind of had it down to a science.
It might have it might have been Brianna I moved in, but I remember moving you out.
Yeah, that's when you came to my house for the first time, and Ray almost knocked you down the stairs.
Yes, I go to shake hands with Alyson's father, being a formal, polite human being, and I see a dog and I see the front legs come up, and I went from the gesture to shake his hand and just swatted her sideways. Your dad looked so impressed.
I know. He's like, well, who is this person that Allie's brought into the house? It was a good time. But yeah, this whole book, rereading it, guys, because it's one thing to read it like before you go to college and then even during college, but like reading it after college is a whole different perspective. I'm like, ah.
I was a commuter, and even I'm like, oh my God.
I know. And just and like all the descriptions of like the way people want to meet each other, and then how like people will try to make eye contact with you in the bathroom because they're desperate to cling on to someone to be a friend because you're in this new big scary place. I'm like, yep, I know that feeling. I remember that feeling. Thank goodness I never, for where we went, they never had the kind of dorms where your bathroom was like down the hall. Thankfully we're all of us, even freshmen, were living in suites, because that because when I went to go visit some friends up in New Hampshire once, and I stayed over at in their dorms for the night, and we had to use the hallway bathroom. I was like, God damn, I am glad I don't have to do this.
There was one hall at our college that was like that, though.
No, there wasn't.
It was similar because orientation freshman year, I remember I had the room connected to the bathroom, and four other rooms had to use that bathroom.
Oh
So
wait, four other rooms? I thought it was two rooms per bathroom in that suite, in that hall.
I know because either a bathroom was out or something. Because I woke up an hour and a half before morning wake up call to get ready. The RAs are coming down the hall yelling and knocking on our doors, and I literally just popped my head out and went, "Good morning," fully ready. And the RA just stopped and just knocked his head back, like, "What?"
That's great. And then you just slept on my floor a lot when you didn't want to go home.
Oh my god, I spent so much time on Alyson's floor, guys.
But my now that I think about it, my teammates were probably questioning a lot why I had you over.
Be gay, do crap.
Yeah, except we weren't. So yeah. But hey, at least they were open minded.
Well, that and when I couldn't crash on your floor, I crashed on the other girl's floor.
Oh yeah. You're
She
always
who shall not be named.
you have back problems.
We wonder why I have back problems. I had to use my cane today and my tens unit.
Yeah. But yeah, who else do we meet in the first chapter? Kat's dad and her twin sister Ren.
Catherine.
I know. I know that was a note I did make at one point in the Google Docs where I'm like,
Yes.
how do you not know you are having twins?
And decide to come up with a second name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so funny that Levi immediately starts calling Kath Cather.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, it's just Kath, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, like Ren, I didn't appreciate Ren's character at first when I was reading this book for the first time. I very much fixated on Kath because obviously she's the one I related to the most and the one I still relate to the most. But I've grown more of appreciation for Ren because her reasons for wanting to separate herself from Kath a little bit are completely understandable
They are. But also, I don't feel like you're set up to like her that much.
because you're so deeply in Kath's head.
But also, this caught my eye on this read, and I was going to bring it up anyway.
Okay.
So, Kath and Reagan and Levi leave, and Kath is alone in the room for the first time. And she's having an anxiety attack, and she's trying to settle it. And I quote, her dad and Ren would be up any minute, and Kath didn't want them to know she was about to melt down. If Kath melted down, her dad would melt down. And if either of them melted down, Ren would act like they were doing it on purpose, just to ruin her perfect first day on campus, her beautiful new adventure.
Oh yeah.
Unquote. That is the first taste you get of Ren. That is not a good start.
That's true. I kind of forgot about that part.
Okay, but Kath is a mood. Kath was sitting at the foot of the bed trying not to look like the pathetic one who always cries.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Uh even I remember actually on moving day, I was trying to be cool like Ren, but on the inside I was Kath 100%. And for the record, I did not immediately run off to go meet other people and go to like the freshman move-in barbecue or whatever. I did go out with my family to Cheesecake Factory first.
Listen, your family was in Rhode Island. You had to go.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I wasn't. And listen, my little brother wanted to split a piece of Oreo cheesecake with me. Who am I to say no? My God, Brady was 8 years old at the time. Damn, he was so little.
That means he was like 9 the first time I met him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep. You watch him go from little child to uh 15-year-old who looks like he's 18. Like
But let's not forget the 2-year gap for COVID.
oh my God, yeah, because you didn't
The
see him for
first
two
time I
years.
saw him post COVID creeped me out.
Yeah, like I remember being on the phone with Owen because again he hadn't seen Brady in so long, and but Brady just walked by and all he heard was his voice, and Owen's like, "Was that wasn't your dad? No!" It's like, oh yeah, that's Brady.
When we're on the phone, I sometimes can't tell whether your dad is talking to you or Brady.
Well, I get told the same thing with my mom, so great.
I mean, hey, at least you have good parents.
True. Oh my god. And as we established from the quiz that I took last week.
Their gravestones are pretty.
Those are pretty. We
I texted that to Alyson in all caps when I listened to that episode.
I knew you would love that episode.
Yes.
All right. Oh, I should have kept screen faded. Yeah, and then chapter 2 is basically her first day of classes. We get some more world building or college campus building. I don't know what you call it. It's not fantasy. We don't need to build the world. It's the real world. And this is just a note I wrote. Can confirm I also rarely forget where I am when I wake up.
I do. And heaven help me, I've had some interesting times.
Yeah.
Like waking up on your floor, the other friend's floor.
Yeah. And then personally, it was always easy for me to remember if I was at my dorm room or my room at home because my bed at home was always much more comfortable.
Dorm couches and dorm beds.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do. I did even get a mattress like topper just to make it better. And anyone who's listening who hasn't gone to college yet but planning to, get a topper for your mattress because those mattresses suck. They just want you to suffer.
Now, I don't remember. Did you ever have a roommate in your room with you?
The first semester, yes, I did. And then she just unexpectedly dropped out of college, which was honestly the best thing she could have done for me.
See, you and I knew of each other then, but it wasn't until the next semester that you seriously walked up to me at the start of a class the first day and went, "Hey, I meant to get your number last semester. What's up? Also, read this book."
Yeah, read this book and cool reading journal, by the way.
Yes.
Apparently I apparently got friendlier sophomore year.
Well, that was the second half of freshman year
Oh yeah.
because we had a class together almost every semester we were there.
Well, that's true because our department was rather small.
But the reason I ask if you ever had a roommate, because I love this one moment from Kath. Even with the room to herself, Kath didn't feel safe changing in here. Reagan could walk in any minute. Reagan's boyfriend could walk in any minute. And either one of them could have been a cell phone camera pervert.
I mean, thankfully we had like the Jack and Jill bathroom, so I could at least change in there. But yeah, but when I did have to change in the room, even when I was sure that my roommate was like in class or whatever, I still changed very, very fast. And then they weren't there for the second semester. So second semester freshman year, I had a room for two people to myself. So that was lucky.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And again in the room that was connected, the other room that was connected to the bathroom, that person also never got a roommate, so we were perfectly happy.
Woo!
Yep. And then also that was the year Xavier and Aiden locked themselves out of their room multiple times, and one would always have to shove each other through the window to get back in.
I love this.
Thankfully they were on the first floor.
Otherwise, get wrecked.
They would have still tried though, especially because I think we had some trees near that hall, so they would have tried.
Ah.
It's amazing. It's amazing those two got through college in one piece sometimes. Yeah, and then and also I love also just Kath making Levi sit outside of her room.
Oh my god, I love that whole exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't just let you in. Why not? I don't even know you. Are you kidding? We met yesterday. I was in the room when you met me. Yeah, but I don't know you. I don't even know Reagan. Are you going to make her wait outside too? Look, I can't just let strange guys into my room. I don't even know your name. This whole situation is too rapey. Rapey? You understand, right? Just, oh God.
Also, side note, the Levi handles her discomfort way better than my Uber driver did with my discomfort yesterday.
But
Yeah.
yes, bless Levi,
Yeah. Also, my
who then
oh, sorry, go ahead.
went and continued to sit in the hallway.
Like a champion.
Levi was standing guard or sitting guard, whatever, out in the hall.
I yeah. For the record, I was at the vineyard yesterday just for the day with my family, and I went off on my own to take an Uber to the bookstore to in
Shock.
Haven. I know. And by the way, I knew Ubers would be expensive on the vineyard, especially on the weekend before 4th of July. Like I was prepared. Like, I was prepared for what would normally be probably a $10 to $15 Uber ride to be like a $20 to $30 Uber ride. On the way to the bookstore, the Uber ride was like $20. On the way back, for some reason, I guess because the demand went up during that time of day, it was almost $40.
You know where my work is compared to my house.
Uh-huh.
$65 on Friday to get home.
God damn. But yeah.
Demand.
Yep, demand. And because I'm me, not only it's not good enough for me when the license plate on the phone matches the car driving up to me. No, no, no. I have to still ask, "Hey, who are you picking up?" And the guy when he picked and the guy who and the second driver I got, he was great. He did his job. He's a good driver. I gave him 5 stars, but he was so taken aback by how insistent I was. By when I was like, no, seriously, who are you picking up? And he's like, what's your name? I'm like, no, you tell me, what's my name? So, ladies, do not feel ashamed for being insistent like that for your safety.
Safety first. Hydration or dehydration second.
That too. But yeah, and he was like, "Are you from New York?" And I didn't say that. I just told him I was from like another city. I didn't say exactly where I was from, but he was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Y'all are so precautious for some reason." I'm like,
So, um, all of my discomfort aside, we find out who is studying what, and I forgot. Like, I just forgot that Levi takes it upon himself to make fucking Reagan's bed as they're talking to Kath about her first day.
"Oh my god."
Our boy is going for range management,
Yep.
and he's not allowed to talk about range management in Reagan's room, which leads to a great little.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cather's room too. Kath, Reagan corrects him. What about when you're not here? He asked Reagan. Can we talk about range management when you're not actually in the room? When I'm not actually in the room, she said. I think you're going to be waiting in the hall.
And that was when Kath started to warm up to Reagan just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
And I love it. I love like obviously one of the main reasons we love rereading this book is because we love Kath and Levi's relationship. But seriously, her friendship with Reagan is so good.
Hey, friend.
Yes. Oh my god! Sorry guys, Sarah's showing me more fan art from her copy of the book. It's beautiful.
It's because you can actually see Reagan because
I
Reagan
know.
is so underrepresented.
I know. And then no, thankfully that's changing because she got her own novella in last year, 2 years ago.
I had to I read that first, and what did I do?
You immediately called me and you were like, Alyson, Levi has Bison!
He has his own little farm.
That's all you cared about with that book.
No, I enjoyed that Reagan got a story, but Levi, guys, book boyfriend. I will talk about this man for hours. And then, Alyson, we get the first creative writing class.
Yeah, please tell me I wasn't the only one who got flashbacks to our own like fiction writing class junior year. Okay, good.
I
That's what I wrote
still
in my
miss
notes.
that prof.
This is what I wrote in my notes. End of chapter is first day of fiction writing and college flashbacks.
Why do we write fiction?
Yep, again, I swear that was something that happened one day in class.
It probably was.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
miss.
yeah, I do miss that class sometimes because even though even though it drove me a little crazy at times, it was still one of the better classes I took, definitely.
Well, remember, I had her so many times between my thesis
Oh yeah, that's right.
and actual creative writing classes.
Mm-hmm.
I had her like 4, 5, 6 times.
Yep. And oh, poor Mia, she's starting to have a tantrum. You're doing great. So everyone just ignore the background noise. Right.
So, students talk about why we write, and oh, poor Kath,
No,
to
seriously, it
stop,
makes me so sad.
to stop being anything or anywhere at all.
Girl needs a hug.
And then the last line of the chapter hurts me. Kath looked down at her notebook to disappear. Freshman college me felt that.
Yeah, on a very deep level.
And then we get a snip of chapter 8 of Simon Snow and the Mage's Heir, the first book in the Simon Snow series.
Ooh, and it's Simon meeting Penelope for the first time, who's his BFF, and I wrote in my notes that this read was the first time I realized that Penelope's a redhead. Because I just keep defaulting Emma Watson because Penelope's so clearly meant to parallel Hermione.
The only reason I remembered that she's a redhead is because Levi is like in love with the character, remember?
That's right. I mean, he has good taste in fictional women, so
Listen, we think he has good taste in fictional women because we have good taste in fictional men.
that's true. And
Look
plus,
at us.
plus, I haven't read Carry On in so long. I obviously haven't reread it as many times as I have with Carry On, but Penelope is, I do, from what I remember, is a really great character and was probably my favorite when I was reading it. Duh.
I need to actually read it.
Yeah, so no, I need to reread it, especially because I've never read the last book that came out. I have it, I just haven't read it. Not, but I feel like I need to reread the other two because I forget everything. Actually,
Dorm rooms are too small is our start to chapter 3.
yeah, no, that is a universal, at least American college experience. I think dorms are always small. Like, what the heck?
This is so small, I can't write like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this poor girl doesn't eat
Yeah, actually,
protein bars and peanut butter.
okay. This is a moment where I really took after Kath. I wasn't as bad as her, but I think my first 2 weeks, I think freshman year, I was also terrified of going to the dining hall by myself. So I had made my like group of friends, like freshman year group of friends, and we would eat breakfast and dinner together. But I didn't go to lunch at least by myself. So I did like after class until dinner time, just hide in my room and eat granola bars or whatever snack I had.
Guys, Alyson always had good snacks from what I remember.
Yeah, I really did.
Do you remember that time we went grocery shopping before the storm?
Oh yeah, fun times.
Guys,
A lot of ramen.
yes, shrimp ramen.
Yep.
Guys, I miss my college days with Alyson.
Those were, yeah, they those were pretty fun. Like just the weekends where we just did nothing and just kind of ate food and hung out in the dorms because our suites had TVs, so that was always a bonus.
You
And
guys
someone had an
introduced me to
episode.
The Office.
Oh my
You guys
god,
introduced me to Friends.
yes. And then the time I binged watched with a couple of my friends the second season of Stranger Things in one day.
Oh
We were
God.
insane. But the guys in the connecting suite to us were even more insane because they literally started watching at 3 a.m. and we had to like close the doors and block them out because we're like la 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 la, we're just starting at 9 a.m. la 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 la. That was a wild time.
Sounds it.
Mm-hmm. And then we had to take a break because it was like on a Friday, even though none of us had classes. I still had that like meeting thing that I was doing, like leadership training meetings every Friday. So that was the only reason we took a break. And they were kind enough not to keep watching without me.
So, protein bars.
Yeah. Oh, I also wrote in my notes, I just remembered a bell exists.
Yeah, he sucks. Abel sucks.
Yep, he is there. He is an end table, and we also meet Courtney, Ren's roommate, who she immediately bonds with the way so many, especially girls, try to bond with their freshman year roommates because again, you're just desperate for a friend. And and Courtney's not the greatest friend either.
And they try to convince Kath to go to a party at the Triangle House. The engineering frat who gets drunk and tries to build bridges.
I know, like the engineering frat. Like I kind of want to see that frat.
The only frat we need.
Yeah, like this is the only frat I would be interested in going to. And and it's just so funny how everyone's constantly trying to get Kath to go out and do things because again, that's exactly what happened to me my freshman year of college with my parents and the conversation she has at some point with her dad being like, "You want me to go to frat parties to get drunk?" He's like, "Yes, no, I mean, ah."
I mean, right in the end of this chapter, Ren says to her, and you know what dad says, you have to try something before you can say you don't like it. And Kath responds with, seriously, you're using dad to get me to a frat party? I have tried parties. There was that one at Jesse's with the tequila. And I just love Red. Did you try the tequila? No, but you did. And I helped clean it up when you puked.
Okay, so where were we? Because we had to pause so that my computer could cool down.
We were right at the start of chapter 4 with our friend the squirrel.
Woo! Squirrels. We didn't have too many campus squirrels. I just remember one time getting to class and one of the guys in class coming in out of breath because he was like, "Guys, I just got chased by a turkey."
Let's not forget when we came back from leadership weekend and the turkeys were in the road.
Oh my god.
We were stuck out there for like 15 minutes waiting for them to move so the bus could pull through.
Yeah, guys.
And we were all miserable because we were just ready to be done.
Yeah, because we were tired from being we had fun, but we were tired from being in the woods all weekend.
And we'd all already exchanged info on GroupMe and phone numbers and all that crap.
And so we just wanted to go home and decompress, and there were turkeys blocking the road. All right. And also, we just get some more exposition about Abel, which is not important, really.
Abel sucks.
Yeah, just that Ren calls him an end table. And then after that, we get my favorite scene, and it's what solidifies Kath and Reagan becoming friends.
Wait, you're forgetting something.
Oh, what?
This is the first chapter where we really meet Nick.
Oh, whoops. Oh yeah, I did make a note for that. Sorry, I was so excited to get to the good stuff. I wanted to gloss over the red flag.
Yeah, we meet Nick, the walking red flag.
Oh my god. How many red flags can we spot in this boy? Let's find out.
First of all, he disturbs her with the squirrel by scaring the squirrel away.
True. Like, not even apologizing for scaring the squirrel or anything.
But also, this gives some really important exposition about Kath that I think we've overlooked.
Okay. Do tell.
She's a freshman in fiction writing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nick starts to explain how a normal workshop would work, and she's so confused. We'll probably up into groups first, he said. Again, like she should know this. Oh, I'm kind of new around here. Are you a freshman? She nodded and rolled her eyes. How did a freshman get into Professor Piper's 300 level class? I asked. So, like, she skipped multiple prereqs as a freshman.
Girl is smart.
She is, and she's clearly got some skill from all of her time spent writing Carry On.
Mm-hmm. And she can't, and because Kath, obviously, because of her anxiety and just being shy, is a shut in, or a hermit, as Reagan later calls her. But she can ask for things. She does have the potential to stand up for herself and go after what she wants.
Now, are you ready for your scene, buddy?
Yes, I'm ready for my scene. Can
Who's who?
you be Reagan?
Of course.
Right, because I know I wrote out just the dialogue on the Google Docs, but you can't access the Google Docs because.
Put my book right here. I'm already open to the pages.
All right, cool. So we don't have to. So I wrote it from, like, do you have an eating disorder, up to maybe you should be.
Yes.
Let's just do focus on the dialogue.
Do you have an eating disorder?
Oh,
Your trash is full of energy bar wrappers.
You were looking through my trash?
Levi was looking for a place to spit out his gum. So, do you have an eating disorder?
No,
Then why don't you eat real food?
I do, just not here.
Are you one of those freaky eaters?
No, I don't know where the dining hall is.
You've been living here more than a month,
I know.
and you haven't found the dining hall?
I haven't actually looked.
Why haven't you asked someone? You could have asked me.
Do you really want me asking you stupid questions?
If they're about food, water, air, or shelter, yes. Jesus, Cap, I'm your roommate.
Okay, so noted.
So, do you want me to show you where the dining hall is?
No, that's okay.
You can't keep living off diet bars. You're running out.
I'm not running out.
Levi might have eaten a few.
You're letting your boyfriend steal my protein bars?
He said he was doing you a favor, forcing the issue. He's not my boyfriend. Exactly.
This is a violation.
Get your shoes. I'm showing you where the dining hall is.
No, I don't like new places, new situations. There'll be all those people and I won't know where to sit. I don't want to go.
Have you been going to class?
Of course.
How?
Class is different. There's something to focus on. It's bad, but it's still tolerable.
Are you on drugs?
No?
Maybe you should be.
I love these two.
My favorite thing ever is you get through more of the conversation about them going to the dining hall and forcing her out. And then the last line for this particular segment of the chapter is, I'm on drugs. They're a beautiful thing.
and then just after, in the dining hall too. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Well, Tath is trying to explain fandom to Reagan, and Reagan's like, what the fuck is fandom? this conversation toward the end, where Reagan's like, "You've got Simon Snow heads on your desk. Those are commemorative busts. I feel sorry for you. I'm gonna be your friend. I don't want to be your friend. I like that we're not friends. Me too. I'm sorry you had to ruin it by being so pathetic."
Reagan has a point. And then we get the introductive post on fanfics.net.
Which I think we agree is basically archive of our own, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's better than fanfic.net.
Oh yeah, which I did spend a lot of time on in middle school because I had no standards, and I only recently have I become obsessed with archive of our own.
I used to write on fanfic.net.
I got an account for fanfic.net and I never wrote or published anything on it. So I had
Guys,
to
world.
Yep. Though I did discover some good fics on there. May or may not have a Wattpad account, guys, but I'm not gonna confirm or deny anything.
Chapter 5, poor Levi is stuck in the hall again.
Yes! I also love this conversation too. This whole like section of the book just full so much good dialogue.
Please don't make me sit in the hall.
I have to study.
Reagan's running late, and I've already been sitting here half an hour. Your neighbor with the pink Ugg boots keeps coming out to talk to me. Have mercy.
And then he's like, I can see why you and Reagan hit it off.
Yes.
They are besties now.
And also, hey, now that you're eating in the dining hall, can I eat your protein bars?
You were already eating my protein bars.
I felt bad about doing it behind your back.
Good.
But aren't you happier now? You look better nourished already.
Thank you.
So,
What?
can I have a protein bar?
You're unbelievable. And the blueberry blitz are his favorite.
Also, hold on a second. I want to see if this is the chapter. Because I have a note in da-da-da-da. We get a whole bunch of exposition about fanfic. Oh, this is the chapter where we find out that Levi has a receding hairline.
Oh my god. Oh, you did it. Yeah, I see you added that note because I'm like, I don't remember writing that note.
Like, literally, she goes on this whole thing about his receding hairline to herself. Kath couldn't imagine Levi ever being gothy and dark. He had the smilingest face she'd ever seen. He smiled all the way from his chin to his receding hairline. His forehead wrinkled up. His eyes twinkled. Even his ears got into the action. They twitched like a dog's. Come on, there's more. Kath wondered how old Levi was. He looked old enough to drink, but maybe that was just his hair. It's not that Levi was bald or anywhere near bald yet. But his hairline came to a peak on his forehead, then retreated dramatically above his temples. And instead of letting his hair hang down or forward to minimize it, or instead of giving up and wearing it really short like most guys would, Levi swept it straight up and back into a sloppy blonde wave. And he was always messing with it, drawing even more attention to his wide-lined forehead. He was doing it right now. Kath, are you into the receding hairline?
I think she is.
What a thing to be into.
Now, listen, we've all got our quirks. We've all got our weird things we're into, and I guess receding hairlines is Kath's thing. Which, by the way, there were a couple guys who were like barely in their early 20s and already like having like their hair was thinning out. So that's real.
Yeah, I mean, Allie, we were just talking about some of my quirks on the phone between recordings.
That's true. That's all we'll say on that matter.
And then we get some nice, fun backstory about Kath and fanfic.
Yep. Which like the part because she talks a lot about how like it started off as just a fun thing where she and her and online friends, especially with Ren, they would just exchange stories with each other, but then Carry On like really took off and became like one of the big like fan fictions in the Simon Snow fandom, and how much like anxiety goes along with that too, of like feeling like you can't please everyone and getting mean comments. And even though Ren is so obviously flawed, this is when she is genuinely a very good sister. When Kat's getting too worked up, too overwhelmed by everything, she's like, no, 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 stealing the laptop. I am sleeping with it, so you can't work on it, and you will get some rest. God damn it!
But also, it's important to note that people are looking at Carry On as the eighth year fic, because where this book takes place, the eighth book hasn't come out yet. It comes out toward the end of the book. And Kath has this huge spanning fan fiction that covers that time period. And to quote, Carry On was written as if it were the eighth Simon Snow book, as if it were Kath's job to wrap up all the loose ends, to make sure that Simon ascended to mage, to redeem Baz, something Gemma T. Leslie would never do, to make both boys forget about Agatha, to write all the goodbye scenes and graduation scenes and last minute revelations, and to stage the final battle between Simon and the insidious humdrum. Everyone in fandom was writing eighth year fics right now. Everyone wanted to take a crack at the big ending before the last Simon Snow book released in May. But for thousands of people, Carry On was already it. My supernatural friends, the closest fic I can find to how people seem to feel about Carry On is Twist and Shout, which also, ow! Alyson, you are so lucky to not know about Twist and Shout.
Oh dear.
That shit hurted.
We were English majors, we swear.
That was just me pulling internet lingo.
I know. But we promised we were English majors, guys.
And after our fun talking about fanfic, the first time Nick asks Kath to be his writing partner, which
Which
he
I
works shift in the library.
pretty sure I made a note that oh, here's the note I wrote. And now we begin the dreaded library dates. ... Why?
But this is also when Levi walks her to the library while talking about Bison.
I know, it's like Bison. I literally have in my notes my notes I wrote, and Levi walks her to the library. Cue Alyson squealing in the background, and also during walk, and then in all caps, Levi mentions Bison.
But also, can we acknowledge Reagan? You're leaving the dorm after dark? Do you have a date? She says she's meeting with someone to study. And Levi, precious Levi, don't walk home by yourself if it's late. And Reagan's like, well, I walk home by myself if it's late. And he goes, you don't have the Little Red Riding Hood vibe that
Yeah,
Kath does.
it's true.
But
Oh,
I really love when he says that he's bringing her to the library. Come on, he said. Why? I'm walking you to the library. You don't have to, Kath argued. I haven't moved in 2 hours. I don't mind. No, really. Just go, Kath, Reagan said. It'll take 5 minutes. And then, of course, she makes an R joke. But I just love, you coming? Levi asked Reagan. Fuck no, it's cold out. So not only is he walking her there to make sure she gets there safely? He's freezing his ass off to do it.
Also, this is
While talking about Bison.
Yep, and he's talking about Bison. Also, I believe this is Reagan giving them alone time because she knows that Levi's starting to develop a crush.
Oh, certainly. She knows her best friend well.
Yep.
But also, we get a very important lesson in this chapter. Kath nodded. Cow's bad. Buffalo good. Cow's good, Levi said. Bison better.
Yes.
This is all really important, you know. That's why I'm telling you.
And we know, spoiler alert, guys, for future Rainbow Rowell books, that because in the Reagan novella we get, she mentions that Levi is, settling down with his wife and has Bison. And we know it's Kath because in Landline we get a cameo of Levi and Kath, and from that main character's point of view, she mentions seeing an engagement ring on Kath's finger.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But also, can we acknowledge this nice little exchange right at the end of this section before she goes into the date?
Mm-hmm.
It's part of why I love Levi so much. Call me when you're done, Little Red. No, Kath thought. I don't even know your number. Levi was already walking away. I'll be in your room, he said over his shoulder. Call me there. He just read her fucking mind.
Mm-hmm.
For one. And second of all, he's making sure that he will be in a space where he is accessible to her for her safety. And gives her a way to get that. This boy cares.
Mm-hmm.
Which you learn very quickly is a hell of a lot more than Nick ever does.
Oh yeah. Fucking Nick.
Fucking Nick.
Who gives me a lot of unwanted flashbacks.
Yeah. As someone who went through college with you,
Yep, Sarah knows.
I know all too well.
But
and you're in a new hell every time he crosses your mind.
God damn. Also, did you write the note? How does Levi get lost in the library every time?
Yes, he says it when he picks her up after the date. First of all, this boy not only fucking walks to meet her, he jogs so she doesn't have to wait outside because the library's closed.
Mm-hmm.
I love how we're just skipping over how much we hate Nick in this date.
Yeah, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
But so
yeah. Also,
she calls back to her room.
Yeah.
And to quote Reagan, Levi left as soon as the phone rang. You may as well for him. So Kath goes and stands next to a lamppost. So he'd see her, because it's midnight. The library's closed. She has to wait outside.
Mm-hmm.
Levi showed up long before she expected him to, jogging down the pathway. Even his jogging looked laid back. But he was so determined.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, he said, stopping when they met and turning to walk with her. In one piece, even. That isn't my name.
Because again, Kat's mom sucks.
Yes, but like I love Catherine. That isn't even my name. Just Cather, huh? Just Kath. But here's the thing that I made the joke about. Did you get lost in the library? He asks her. No. I always get lost in the library, no matter how many times I go. In fact, I think I get lost there more the more that I go. Like it's getting to know me and revealing new passages.
Oh my god.
You spend a lot of time in the library? I do, actually. How is that possible when you're always in my room? Where do you think I sleep? He asked. And when she looked up at him, he was grinning.
I love this man.
I love their dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I love their dynamic so much. But also, how the fuck do you get lost in the same library every time?
I mean, IKEA exists.
Valid, but IKEA's not a library. I mean, we'll give him some benefit of the doubt because we find out that his library is about 3 times the size of the one we had in college.
Oh yeah, that was
They have an 8-floor library, 6 above ground, 2 under.
yeah. We only had 3 floors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a small college. I'm realizing.
Yeah, Sam.
Also, how dare this book make me almost want to go do college again, just at a big university, just to have a different experience.
Truth. But
Like,
also, not with the way student loan forgiveness is going right now.
yeah, no, it's like one, can't afford that shit, and two, yeah, I don't feel like going back to school anytime soon.
And then, friends, before we get to chapter 6, we get a snip of fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Not from Carry On, but, and I quote, from Friends for Life and After, posted August 2006 by fanfics.net authors Magicath and Renegade.
Mm-hmm. Ren wrote fan fiction with Kath, guys.
But now she's a cool college girl with Courtney.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Kath and Ren really do kind of represent like what can happen for kids who are like big into fandoms. You got people like us who never left the fandoms. Then you have people like Ren who are convinced that they're supposed to outgrow the fandoms and do cool things.
Okay, but like, is this a good place to acknowledge the Twilight Renaissance?
Oh my god, yes.
Because we both thought we grew out of that.
Well, we thought we did. We tried. Turns out we did not.
Y'all, we're in Twilight shit posting and we hope you are too.
It's a great time, everyone.
Email Alyson at the podcast email and let us know if you're ratties too.
Oh my god.
We start chapter 6 with Cap and her dad leaving voicemails for each other.
And it stresses me out every time.
But also, I have to acknowledge this particular section of dialogue when they actually talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because it brings back memories for me that I doubt that it does for you.
Oh.
Honey, I've watched a lot of 90210. The parents weren't even on the show once Brandon and Brenda went to college. This is your time. You're supposed to be going to frat parties and getting back together with Dylan. Why does everyone want me to go to frat parties? Who wants you to go to frat parties? I was just kidding. Don't hang out with frat guys, Cap. They're terrible. All they do is get drunk and watch 90210. I grew up watching 90210 with my mom.
Oh my gosh.
It was one of my mom's favorite shows when she was younger. So, like, I got the joke. I know who Dylan is.
I've never seen that show, so woo.
Wait a second. The dad just admitted he used to be a frat guy. Don't hang out with frat guys, Kath. They're terrible. All they do is get drunk and watch 90210. Dad! But also, Dad, you got some good taste if you want your kid to end up with Dylan, because may Luke Perry rest in peace.
Yeah, my introduction to Luke Perry was Riverdale, so
I figured.
yeah.
He was a very attractive young man when back in the day who played a bad boy named Dylan on 90210.
Mm-hmm.
He was mine and my mom's favorite.
Nice. Also speaking of Kath and Ren kind of growing apart with the fandom, I hated that drunk phone call so much.
We're on. Is that this chapter?
Yeah, I have it in my notes for chapter 6.
Okay, it could just. Yeah.
Because it happens before they go before Reagan forces Kat to go bowling.
Yeah, so let's set the scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Friday night. Kath has the dorm room to herself, and she's been going on these writing dates with Nick. She doesn't see that he is literally a walking red flag, and she thinks that she's starting to like him. She thinks that she's starting to like him. And he has this agreement he makes with her that if they ever need writing partners, they will be each other's, which is just confusing her feelings further.
Mm-hmm.
So she calls her sister. And we find out very quickly that Ren is not quite herself. She
No.
keeps calling Kath sister, sister, which is the first indication for Kath that something is weird. And then you find out that she's up on the observation deck, jokingly, of a dorm. And she says, "Are you drunk?" "I was drunk," Ren said. "Now I think I'm something else." Already not boding well for Kath here.
No, 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 no.
But then she's a little shit. "Ren, are you okay?" "Yes, yes, yes, sister, sister. That's why I answered the phone. To tell you I'm okay. So you can leave me alone for a little while. Okay, okay?" And we wonder why I did not like Ren at all at first.
Mm-hmm.
Kath felt her face tense, more from hurt now than worry. "I was just calling to talk to you about Dad." And other stuff. Boy stuff. Boy stuff? Is Simon coming out to Agatha again? Did Baz make him a vampire? Again? Are their fingers helplessly caught in each other's hair? Have you got to the part where Baz calls him Simon for the first time? Because that's always a tough one. That's always a 3-alarm fire. Ren. Ren. Shut your whore mouth. Because that is so mean and uncalled for.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn very quickly earlier in the book that Ren is the one who is more adept with boys. She has more experience with boy stuff. So Kath turns to her for help and she just makes fun of her.
And I hate it.
And then poor Kath just curls up in her bed and feels bad for herself.
But at least she gets to go bowling.
Yes, the next day.
And Reagan basically just bursting in and is like, "Stop! We're going bowling! Get dressed!"
But also Levi, when he appears, Levi was standing there practically bouncing. He was wearing a white t-shirt, and he'd drawn on it with a Sharpie, adding a collar and buttons down the front, plus a chest pocket with "The Strikeout King" written above it in fancy font. "Are we doing this?" he said.
He was bouncing extra hard because Kath was coming. You can't tell me otherwise.
You're completely correct.
Mm-hmm.
Golden Retriever boyfriend without the girlfriend.
Exactly. He's trying to get a girlfriend.
But also, they're so grumpy sunshine coated, and this is just occurring to me now that that's a popular trope.
I know. Like they were doing it before that
Weird.
became really big.
I mean, heck, they're talking about how she mentions that Levi's saying hi to like everybody there. He won't shut up.
Yep. And then she was like, and when she was like, I think there's a baby in the corner you forgot to kiss, he's like, "Show me the baby."
Where's a baby? His eyes perked up.
Yeah, and like, cause and Kath has so let's not forget, Kath had so much fun with them that when they actually do invite her out to drinks, she is so close to saying yes.
Kath almost said yes.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, she shook her head.
But she still hasn't gone through her full character arc yet, so of course she says no.
And then this just hurts me. When Kath got back up to her room, she thought about calling Ren. She called her dad instead.
Mm-hmm.
She did some reading for class. Then she stayed up working on Carry On until her eyes burned and she knew she'd fall asleep as soon as she climbed into bed.
Yeah.
And then we get another excerpt from Simon Snow and the Mage's Heir.
And then chapter 7, the first note I wrote was so long end table.
Yeah, because Katie is the reason I'm calling you.
And this is the first
Like,
time he's called, by the way.
Abel never called her. They emailed. They texted. They texted just last night, but they never actually talked unless it was in person. And he calls her.
Yeah.
Then
Like,
he breaks up with her for a girl who got a better ACT score. Like, sir.
I mean, good for him for finding someone he has more in common with or whatever, but it's like, sir, why mention her ACT score? What was the point of that?
And she only scored 2 points higher than Kath.
Mm-hmm. Again, what was the point of mentioning that? Boys suck, except for Levi.
But also, you're breaking up with me because I'm not smart enough. This isn't a breakup. It's not like we're really together. Is that what you told Katie? I told her we drifted apart. Sir, every man in this book except for the dad and Levi suck.
Well, actually, from what I remember, because we haven't met him yet, but the boy Ren ends up with, he's not that either.
Yes, but that's a spoiler, bud.
Oh yeah, it's a reread podcast, guys. Being spoiled is always a danger.
And then we find out that Abel still reads Carry On.
And so does Katie, apparently.
Yes. Like, that's just a double kick.
I know. At least he doesn't shame her for the fan fiction. Because we know the bar's in hell.
But then, can we acknowledge the first thing that she does after this conversation before class starts is text her sister? Her sister, who the last time they communicated seriously and deeply hurt her. But also, the texts are kind of great. Abel broke up with me. Oh God, sorry. Want me to come over? Yeah. At 5? Yeah. You okay? And Alyson's favorite thing. Think so. End tables end.
Yes.
But her sister immediately comes over
Mm-hmm.
and talks to her, and
Because Ren's a complicated character. Let's just put it that way.
she really is.
Mm-hmm.
But also, we get more of how bad End Table sucks.
Yeah, gave her a power cord for her birthday.
But also, Kath trying to defend him. Do you remember when he bought you a laptop power cord for your birthday? That was a good gift. I needed a new power cord. Kath leaned against the wall again, facing Ren. He kissed me that day, on our 17th birthday, for the first time. Or maybe I kissed him. And then Ren pulls a me. Was it charged with passion?
You would say that.
I love my puns.
I know you do. And then, oh, and then in that same scene, Levi and Reagan come in and actually meet Ren for the first time. And Levi's all like, "What, you knew about the twin?"
Wait a second, though, because I think we just need to do this. Levi, this is my sister Ren. Ren held out her hand. Levi's eyes were as wide as Kath had ever seen them. He grinned at Ren and took her hand, shaking it. Ren, he said, such fascinating names in our family. Our mom didn't know she was having twins, Ren said, and she didn't feel like coming up with another name. Cather? Ren. Levi looked like he'd just now discovered sliced bread. Catherine! Kath rolled her eyes. Ren just smiled. Clever, right? Kath, Levi said, and tried to sit next to Ren on the bed, even though there wasn't enough room. I didn't know you had a mother, he said, or a sister. What else are you hiding?
What was it? 5 cousins and a string of hamsters named Simon well died or whatever.
Yes, a string of ill-fated hamsters, all named Simon. Levi opened his smile up completely. But also, you knew about the twin? And Reagan, Kath said. Hello, Reagan said, frowning. And then our girl Ren leaves. And fucking Levi, as soon as the door closed, Levi popped his eyes again. Bluely. That's your twin sister? Identical, Reagan said, like she had a mouthful of hair. Kath nodded and sat down at her desk. Wow. I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I think it's offensive. How can the fact that your identical twin sister is super hot be offensive to you? Because it makes me feel like the ugly one. You're not the ugly one, Levi grinned. You're just the Clark Kent. Kath started checking her email. Hey, Kath, Levi said, kicking her chair. She could hear the teasing in his voice. Will you warn me when you take off your glasses? I love him!
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we get a snip from the 4th book in Simon, where we meet Agatha, whose last name is Wellbelove.
Yup.
And was the loveliest witch at the school.
You don't say.
That is the first sentence we get about her. Agatha Wellbelove was the loveliest witch at Watford.
Yeah. You know, random thought. Do you know what I want to read? I want to read some of the fan fiction Kath mentions that she reads because of Penelope and Agatha.
Yes. But also, I hope you love that my brain just keeps going. It was Agatha all along.
I mean, it's true because she causes quite the bit of chaos within the quote-unquote canon Simon Snow universe. Because she strings both Simon and Baz along.
Yes. We need the boys to forget her, as we earlier discussed.
Yep. The boys need to forget about her, and Agatha needs to run off with Penelope.
And just like that, we're at the start of chapter 8.
Dang. We're doing pretty good for us.
We are. I'm proud of us.
Woo. Okay.
I apologize for how much I'm reading directly from the book. But
don't
also,
apologize. Don't apologize. I do it for anyone here who's listened to my Hunger Games episodes. You know how much I read from that book, especially toward the end of Mockingjay, where there were just too many gosh damn good passages. Because fuck Suzanne Collins for being a great writer.
Okay, but fuck Rainbow Rowell for the same reason, as we're quickly learning.
Exactly. Stop. Why do these people have to be so talented? Ah.
And this is where I pause to say, friends, just because we love the writing of Rainbow Rowell does not mean that we don't acknowledge how problematic Eleanor Park is.
Yep, which is why I have not reread that book in years.
I haven't reread it since I was in high school.
Yeah. Okay.
But we can't just brush past the fact that she did something bad.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm kind of scared to go back and look at attachments because I remember reading that book and enjoying it, but I'm like, that was also one of her earlier works. What happened there?
The whole premise for that one's kind of creepy if you think about it.
It really is. Then again, most rom-coms written in like the late 90s and early 2000s had a lot of creepy concepts, so it was a perfect product of the time, guys.
Yes.
All right. What happens in chapter 8?
The beginning of it is another library date.
Oh yeah. One of my notes I wrote is her feelings developing for Nick, ruh raggy.
That was me.
I
I
was
wrote
like,
that
I don't remember
down
writing that, but
because rut raggy.
but that's accurate. That's accurate.
Because we get this passage after they talk a bit about the writing that they're gonna do. Blah 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 blah. We don't really need it, but just know that they're writing together. They're usually passing a notebook back and forth, filling in sections.
Mm-hmm.
They sat next to each other now when they worked, the better to read and write during the others' turns. Kath had learned to sit on Nick's right side, so their writing hands didn't bump unintentionally. It made Kath feel like part of a two-headed monster, a three-legged race. It made her feel at home. She wasn't sure what Nick was feeling. They talked a lot before class and during class. Nick would crank around in his chair completely. Sometimes after they got out, Kath would pretend she had to walk past Bessie Hall, where Nick's next class was, even though there was nothing past Bessie Hall but the football stadium. Thank God Nick never asked where she was going. He never asked that when they left the library at night either. They always stopped for a minute on the steps while Nick put his backpack on and wound his blue paisley scarf around his neck. Then he'd say, "See you in class," and be gone. If Kath knew Levi was in her room, she'd call and wait for him to come get her. But most nights she pressed 911 on her phone, then ran back to the dorm with her finger over the call button. She's clearly feeling things for him, but it's also just clear how shit he is.
Mm-hmm. Does not care. Just using her. Yay!
And then we have Courtney and Ren doing the skinny bitch diet, which is just vegan.
Yeah.
We hate Courtney in this house.
Yep. Except on the weekends, because they're drunk. Because they're drunk bitches.
Obviously.
Mm. Yeah. If if Reagan needs to be worried about anyone's eating habits, it's Ren.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kat just because this is a pretty short chapter. I just wrote my notes are like Kat starts seeing boys everywhere. Demisexual question mark.
Yeah, I was just looking at a passage where it talks about how she looks at boys.
Mm-hmm. Because and how she says the line where she's like, I don't want to just kiss random lips out of context because those lips are strangers. I'm just like, that is a very demisexual thing to say. So obviously nothing's confirmed or denied about Kat's sexuality, but if you're on that spectrum, if you're demisexual, Kat is for you, I believe.
But also, I feel so bad for Kath during this particular uh exchange with Ren. She's talking about how like she's starting to like Nick.
Mm-hmm.
My strategy, she said to Ren now, is to make sure he doesn't meet my prettier, skinnier twin. I don't think it would matter, Ren said. Kath noticed she wasn't arguing the prettier, skinnier point. It sounds like he's into your brain. I don't have your brain. Girl, tell your sister she's beautiful too.
Yes, she is.
She is. And our boy Levi sees that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she wants to go home and see their dad, and Ren is just a bitch about it.
So he
We
goes
find out that Ren doesn't even call their dad. She just texts him, emails him rather, even though we know by this point in the book that dad's a little unstable.
Mm-hmm.
Dad literally has a whole thing about how the girls want a bathroom upstairs. Do you remember this?
Yes.
So he goes, I could put a trap door in with a ladder.
Fireman pole.
Fireman pole. I bet I could do it by myself. I just need to find a pole. Like, Dad, buddy, are you okay?
He's not.
We're talking about 90210 and fireman poles.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I don't think anyone in this family is okay at the moment.
No. Alyson, for reference here, you can think of 90210 as a less dramatic Degrassi, if you
Oh,
remember Degrassi.
I never watched Degrassi, but I know of it.
It was a group of teenagers going through high school and shit happened. It was just one of those stereotypical drama shows.
Okay.
But like for some reason that cast had more hot men than most shows of its nature.
Okay then.
I mean, come on, young Luke Perry?
True. Very true.
Beauty. And then chapter ends with Professor Piper collecting their unreliable narrator papers.
And we know
And
how well that's gonna go. But we won't have
yes,
to this week.
don't remind me. But we have Nick just kind of being a dick. He grabs the paper out of Cap's hand. She has to grab it back from him to be able to turn it in herself. And then Professor Piper took the paper from her hand. Thank you, Cap. She smiled warmly and squeezed Cap's shoulder. I can hardly wait. Nick twisted his head back around at that. Pet, he mouthed.
Yeah.
And Cap isn't even offended by this statement, because the last sentence of the chapter is Cap thought about reaching up to the back of his head and petting his hair down to the point at his neck. Honey, he's a red flag. Don't.
So she's 18. She can't see the red flags. You and I were 18. We wouldn't be able to see the red flags. I didn't see the red flags at the first time I read this book. I know. Evil reality, okay?
I don't like remembering that I was 18 and stupid, except when I was stupid, I was 17, and you've heard about this.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Listen, 17's worse, okay?
Now I have would have, could have, should have in my head.
Yep. Anyway, Cap goes home in the next chapter, but first she goes to Starbucks.
Wait. First, before the chapter starts, we get another snippet of fanfic from Kath and Reagan. This one from 3 years later.
Oh.
So it kind of shows how long they're in the fandom, and I feel like that's important to remember, especially while Kath and Ren keep having these little outs with each other.
True. That's a good point because it's a good because especially at this point in the book we've seen a lot of just negative aspects Ren, it's a good reminder of like their history and how much they actually do love each other.
They shared a room for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, our girl goes to Starbucks. And who does she encounter at the Starbucks?
Levi! And I just love how another guy, one of the other baristas, was like, how can I help you? And he's like, no, you may not. I got this one.
No, you cannot.
Oh, can you I can imagine the break room gossip that happened after that.
Oh my god.
Levi's coworkers immediately like, huh?
And she just orders a normal coffee. But he makes her a personalized drink.
Mm-hmm. And he's
And
like,
then doesn't let her pay.
I know. You know what that moment also made me think of? That
What?
part that part in the Heights, like toward the end, where everyone's singing the big song, we're like da 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 da. Okay, I actually can't remember how the song goes too well, but there is a line where one of the salon ladies basically calls out Vanessa and is like about how it's like, yo, Usnavi clearly has feelings for you, and there's a line where she says, and haven't you noticed you get all your coffee for free? It's like, and everyone around's like, oh.
Okay, but me yesterday when I offered to pay and wasn't allowed to.
Yeah. By the way, everyone, go. By the way, everyone, go either see a production of In the Heights or watch the movie because my God, it is so good.
I haven't
Although,
seen it yet, Alyson.
what?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's so good. Just have tissues ready, and also just block it. If you're watching the movie, just block out the fact that Anthony again cheated on Jasmine.
Listeners, my face just contorted at the memory.
I know it did.
But the listeners can't see that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Listeners, I hope you enjoy me because we got a while to go.
Stuff just happening. Anyway, let's. I think Brady's gonna be working out in here soon, so let's wrap this up.
We got
Cap,
not much.
yeah, Cap goes home, and this whole chapter made me crave burritos.
They go to how many different taco trucks?
Like 10, I don't know.
Like they go to a different taco truck for every meal.
Mm-hmm.
She and her dad ate every meal that weekend at a different taco truck. Kath had carnitas and barbacoa, al pastor, and even lengua. She ate everything drenched in green tomatillo sauce.
Sounds like a great time to me. And
Her dad just has terrible tendencies.
yeah, and also he reveals something important. Their mom wants to talk to Kath and Ren.
The mom, who couldn't even come up with a second name and was not around for most of their childhoods.
Now suddenly, when they're not, children, legal children, they're now legal adults. She's like, maybe I should get to know them. My question is, has this woman paid child support?
Probably not.
Yep.
Actually, no. Thinking about it, probably, because how else would they survive?
It's true. But still, I feel like she at least had to miss out on some child support because why would she not connect with them until they were adults? All right. Yeah, Cap doesn't take that news well, and Ren is actually open to talking to their mom again.
At the end of the chapter, we get another snip of fan fiction, but this time it's just Kath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
2010, it's just Kath. Even though I just said to you that back in 2009 they were still writing fic together.
And now I'm sad. Okay, we're speed wrapping this up. Let's remind everyone about Nick's red flags and read the scene you wanted to read.
Yes. So they have another date, but Professor Piper still hasn't finished grading their papers. They end up talking the whole rest of the time the library is open. Come on, Nick said, it's midnight. She gathered up her books. Nick always took the notebook. It was his notebook after all, and he worked on the story between library dates or meetings or whatever these were. When they got outside, it was much colder than Kath was expecting. See you tomorrow, Nick said as he walked away. Maybe Piper will have our papers done. And Levi is just already out there waiting,
He knows
leaning on a lamppost.
he knows what time she finishes.
You're always done at midnight. He smiled. I thought I'd beat you to the punch. Too cold out here to stand around waiting. Thanks. Levi was uncharacteristically quiet. So that's your study partner. Yeah, Kath said into her scarf. You know him? Seen him around. Kath was quiet. It was too cold to talk, and she was more tired than usual. He ever offer to walk you home? I've never asked, Kath said quickly. I've never asked you either. That's true, Levi said. More quiet, more cold. The air stung Kath's throat when she finally spoke again. So maybe you shouldn't. Don't be ridiculous, Levi said. That wasn't my point.
I love this man.
And then the end of this chapter, because this chapter is very short, is Ren and Kath talking about connecting with their mom. Ren wants to. Because, in her words, she's our mom. Kath is pissed.
Yeah. And what a place
She already messed. So, the way that Ren sees it is mom already screwed up. She can't do any worse. And Kath is like, that is not true. She can do so much worse.
Yeah, that she can still do damage. Ren, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this.
Listen, Ren is just damage at this point.
Mm-hmm.
She's still going through her little character arc.
It's all the alcohol. That was a horrible joke. But yeah, what
just like that. 10 chapters.
Woo! We did it.
We did it.
Right,
and listeners, it took us less than 2 hours.
Woo! Be proud of us. Be very proud of us, especially when it comes to Levi.
Yes. Well, there'll be more on him next segment.
Oh, yeah, no promises for next time, everyone.
Because you know what happens next time, Alyson.
Yep, because next time we're talking about chapters 11 through 17.
Shorter number of chapters does not mean less talking.
Oh yeah. So wish us luck.
We wish you luck listening along.
Oh yeah, and if you have any thoughts, comments, of course, DM, send me DM, send me an email. All my socials as well are always in the show notes as always.
Y'all, don't leave me out. I love this book. Hit my socials too.
Yeah, as always, Sarah's socials are in the.
Even if it's to ask why I'm obsessed with Levi.
And that's it. Everyone, everyone DM Sarah. Why are you obsessed with Levi?
I will have so much fun answering you, and none of you will get the same answer twice.
Exactly. And which is I'll post a question this week. The question you can answer because if you're on Spotify, it lets me do this. What if you read fan fiction, and if you do or did, what was the fandom you read from the most?
Alyson, you know who I'm gonna have to ask this question now.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think. Actually, what I actually read a lot of fan fiction of when I was like 12.
Percy Jackson?
No, House of Anubis.
I love that for you.
And a little bit of Power Ranger Samurai.
I don't really remember reading fan fiction until Supernatural. I read a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fanfic.
Oh yeah.
My heart.
Okay. let's like I said, let's wrap this up so my dad can listen to his music while working out.
Yes. I just wanted to give our answers to the fans.
Well, thanks again, Sarah. We'll do this again in a couple weeks, and thank you everyone else for listening. Hope y'all have a great day / night, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
Bye.
Bye.